And, daring to be great.
You would fight him.
Man, tell him to come up there.
He got to come to win 54.
He said I got a glass chin. So tell him to come and touch it.
Ooh. Wow.
Gervonta Tank Davis just went off on Terence Crawford after Saudi billionaire Turki Al-Sheikh started handing Crawford massive $25 to $30 million paychecks per fight, because apparently mediocrity pays well these days. Meanwhile, despite his star power, Tank didn't even get a seat at the Ring Magazine Awards. But Davis didn't stay silent. Oh no, he torched Crawford and his crew of Saudi-backed fighters, calling them out for chasing paydays over real competition. He even took shots at Turki himself, saying the billionaire knows as much about boxing as Crawford knows about humility. While Crawford hypes up small crowds in Riyadh, Tank is selling out American arenas, proving who the real star is. Davis isn't just calling out the hypocrisy, he's dismantling the illusion of Crawford's so-called greatness, and it's absolutely glorious.
Fighters now, trash. Yeah, they trash. I think back in the day, fighters was better than the fighters today.
Let's start with the Ring Magazine Awards debacle. This posh event at London's Old Royal Naval College had every big name in boxing: Canelo, Usyk, Devin Haney, you name it. But Tank snubbed. Instead of sulking, Davis took to Instagram and unleashed the truth. He tore into Eddie Hearn, calling him a little rat, and ripped into Turki Al-Sheikh, the mastermind behind the event, accusing them of playing politics instead of respecting the sport. And he didn't stop there. Tank went after the entire wave of fighters cashing in on Saudi deals, basically saying, "Keep your Riyadh riches, I'll stick to selling out arenas in America."
I've been hearing some rumblings about Terence Crawford versus Tank Davis. And when I think about this fight, I am getting Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia vibes.
Meanwhile, Crawford, because he just can't resist making everything about himself, chimed in like the smug little commentator no one asked for. He tweeted something along the lines of, "I see someone's mad they weren't invited." When your best clapback is as weak as your pay-per-view numbers, maybe just sit this one out. But nope, Crawford kept going, reminding everyone, for the millionth time, about his two-time undisputed champion status, as if Tank hasn't been dominating his own division with way more flair and without the endless speeches.
Obviously, all the fans want to see you and Tank in a ring this year. Do you think Turki Al-Sheikh's the man to make that?
Yeah, I think that that's going to be a tremendous fight. I think he's saving boxing, so once Tank gets with him, and I think the fight's going to...
And can we talk about Crawford's so-called wisdom on greatness? He actually had the nerve to say Tank should step up if he wants to be great. Step up. Crawford, my guy, you're barely stepping out of your comfort zone. Sure, you've conquered multiple weight classes, but let's not pretend it was some heroic gauntlet of impossible opponents. Tank staying in his lane, dominating his division with knockout after knockout, while Crawford's out here cherry-picking paths to glory and acting like the second coming of Ali.
Somebody like Tank say, 147, I knock Bud out.
Well, he just talking.
Mm-hmm.
He got the confidence in himself that he believed that he can do that because he's been knocking all these fighters out that he's been in the ring.
Crawford's delusions of superiority fall apart the moment you compare star power. Tank's highlight reels alone could sell out arenas. Crawford's technical skills? Great for the purists, but let's be real, they're not exactly electrifying the sport. The guy fights like a textbook, while Tank fights like a blockbuster action film. And guess what gets people watching? Blockbusters, not lectures on boxing fundamentals. But let's not stop there. Crawford's hypocrisy deserves its own spotlight. He's sitting comfortably at 147, throwing shade at Tank for not stepping up, but has he ever considered stepping down? Of course not.
Why?
Because he knows Tank would steamroll him in a fair fight. Crawford's entire playbook relies on staying just out of reach, barking from a safe distance, while Tank keeps delivering where it actually matters, in the ring, in the crowd, and on the scoreboard.
How far away are we from getting Bud Crawford and Tank Davis? And would weight be an issue there, or would that just be a matter of you waiting for him to be ready for you?
Yeah, no, Tank is at a lower weight class than me. He's at 135, I'm at 147. That's 2 weight classes apart. So
he would have to come up.
Yeah, because I wouldn't never.
You can't get that low.
So that's not gonna happen because I saw people talking about it. You don't think that?
This isn't about who's the better boxer. It's about Crawford's fragile ego struggling to handle Tank's meteoric rise. Tank doesn't need to parade his stats. His punches do all the talking. Meanwhile, Crawford is out here desperately reminding everyone of his accolades, as if legacy is something you announce instead of earn. Terence Crawford struts around like the undisputed king of boxing, but let's cut through the hype. Sure, he's the first fighter to unify two divisions, and his TKO over Errol Spence Jr. was impressive, for about 5 minutes. The guy treats legacy like a scavenger hunt, chasing milestones for the sake of history books, while Gervonta Davis is actually building his. Crawford's resume might be stacked with stats, but let's be real, it's padded with names even hardcore fans have to Google. Meanwhile, Tank is handing out knockouts like party favors, giving fans what they really came to see: raw, explosive action.
What I can say about Tank is he's smart, he can box,
yes,
and he explosive. You know what I mean? But I'm saying skill-wise.
Crawford loves to pat himself on the back for being bold. This guy is out here talking about fighting Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds, jumping up 3 weight classes like he's on a mission to redefine arrogance. Bold. More like desperate. What's the point of moving up just to fight someone who'll boost your paycheck and ego, but not your credibility? Meanwhile, Tank doesn't need gimmicks to stay relevant. He's ruling the lightweight division with an iron fist, delivering highlight reel KOs and pulling massive crowds without ever leaving his weight class. As he put it himself, y'all think he chasing greatness? He's not. That's just what he has to do to make decent money. And let's talk about Tank's little jab about fighting Crawford after Spence. Did he backtrack because he was scared? Please. He backed off because he knows better than to waste time on a guy who has to wave his resume around just to stay in the news. Crawford might brag about beating 14 champions across 4 weight classes, but let's be real, those champions don't exactly scream immortality. Tank's victories, on the other hand, are unforgettable. He doesn't just beat opponents, he obliterates them. Crawford's stats? A boring PowerPoint presentation. Tank. He's the fireworks show.
What are your thoughts on Gervonta Davis saying that he's going to walk away from boxing after 2025?
Look, I don't blame him. I'll tell you that much. I don't blame him, man. But this sport ain't no joke.
If the fire not there.
Crawford's obsession with money and politics is where he really loses the plot. Tank put it perfectly when he called out the Saudi cash chasers for kissing ass. And guess who fits that description to a T? That's right, Crawford. He's the poster boy for selling out, grinning ear to ear as Turki Alashika's millions pad his bank account. Crawford loves to defend Turkey's investments, acting like they're for the good of boxing. Spoiler alert, they're not. It's all about control and branding, not elevating the sport. And Crawford? He's just another player in their game, pretending it's all noble. But Tank didn't stop there. He dropped a bomb about Al Heyman, saying, at least Turkey picks up calls. Translation: boxing's politics are rotten, and Crawford is out here defending the same broken system that keeps the sport stuck in the mud. Imagine Crawford trying to spin that into a win. Tank doesn't need phone calls or Saudi checks to stay on top. He's filling arenas and headlining fights that people actually care about. And sure, Crawford might be pocketing $25 million per fight, but let's not act like that buys him a free pass to lecture Tank about greatness.
At a catch weight of 137 pounds. So what are we talking about here? Gervonta Tank Davis, which would be the A side in this situation, would never move up to 147 pounds and fight Terence Bud Crawford, the legendary.
Crawford's defense of Turkey is downright laughable. He's out here bragging about fights being hosted in luxury spots like Riyadh and acting like exotic locations somehow make the fights better. Newsflash, they don't. Fans don't care where the ring is, they care about the action inside it. Meanwhile, Tank's criticism wasn't just about the money, it was about exposing the blatant politics behind it all. But Crawford? He's out here playing spokesperson for Turkey, hyping up the whole operation like it's some noble cause when, in reality, he's just another pawn in their branding game. He's not building boxing, he's cashing in. And he thinks that somehow makes him great. Please.
Retire.
What changed? What made you trash, garbage?
If you got the opportunity to sign a prospect for GTD.
This rivalry isn't just about boxing skills, It's about principles. Crawford loves to act like he's chasing history, but let's be real. He's not some fearless warrior taking on all comers. Sure, he's conquered multiple weight classes, but let's not pretend he fought through an unbeatable gauntlet. Meanwhile, Tank isn't out here playing legacy games. He's staying in his lane, dominating his division, calling his own shots, and delivering knockout after knockout. And let's talk about Crawford's laughable defense of Turkey. He's bragging about fights in Riyadh like the location somehow elevates the sport. Newsflash, it doesn't. Fans don't care about exotic venues and billionaire-backed branding. They care about real fights. But Crawford, he's too busy playing the game, cashing bloated Saudi paychecks while pretending he's on some noble mission to save boxing. As for the whole Tank versus Crawford speculation, some so-called experts like Roy Jones Jr. claim a catchweight showdown would be epic. Let me save you the debate. It wouldn't be. Sure, Crawford has versatility and technical skills, but one clean shot from Tank and it's over. Simple as that. While Crawford keeps chasing legacy like it's some kind of scavenger hunt, Tank is actually building his. He's selling out arenas, thrilling fans, and racking up highlight reel knockouts without having to bounce around weight classes in search of an easy path to glory. The truth is, Crawford isn't chasing greatness. He's chasing a paycheck. And no amount of Saudi money or padded stats can change that.